Welcome to the Flourish with Dr. B podcast. Our mission is inspiring people to flourish in mind, body, and spirit. And I'm your host, Dr. B. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about, as we would say, in the buzz with Dr. B only today. And we're going to talk a little bit about like Menopause 101. I feel like our last session with Dr. Tati, we kind of just threw you into the fire with the wolves, no pun intended. So like to just give you a little background, little very basic menopause instruction that I do with most of my presentations and clients and things like that. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, what are some of the symptoms of menopause? And when I do this live, I ask people to type it in the chat. But obviously, you might be thinking some of these things, these are my main symptoms of menopause. One is that, not being able to lose weight no matter how much workout I do, hot flashes, just like irritability over the simplest things, like sending an email or answering a text, like I'm like irritable or scared or anxious around it. I also am a chocoholic, and I have a lot of cravings, a lot of food noise around chocolate. I get sad sometimes, a little, I don't want to say depressed, but a little bit of some depressive symptoms, itchiness everywhere, even in my ear canals. Yes, that's something that I'm quite baffled at, but I think it's part of the whole menopause equation. Worry, being very worrisome and perseverating over things. And then, of course, the last picture there is insomnia. And don't you love just waking up at 3 in the morning and then just start listing all the things you did wrong or all the things you want to worry about? So those are some of the symptoms of menopause. And these are also some of the symptoms of menopause. And I always say menopause is not for wimps. So we have hot flashes, night sweats, stubborn weight gain, uncontrollable cravings, itchiness, thinning of hair, brittle nails. I have that too. Stress incontinence, meaning you may cough or sneeze and you have a little accident. Overactive bladder, dizzy spells. Women have reported increase in allergies of existing ones or ones they never had and now they're allergic, like hay fever and things like that. Osteoporosis, when our estrogen levels go low, our calcium absorption also decreases. So then we have brittle bones, tinnitus or tinnitus, ringing of the ears, vaginal dryness because of the estrogen going down. We have the what we say the mucosa in the genitourinary tract becomes dry, and then that's pain during sex, and that's also decreased libido. Different odors emerge, not just regular body odor, but odors in places in private places where we never had odors. And that's all due to body chemistry and hormones changing. Heart palpitations, that is how my menopause, actually perimenopause, it started around when I was 42, and I had a cardiovascular workup by the cardiologist, and he's like, "You're fine. That's nothing." And like, but I'm having it when I'm just laying around. I'm not even like exerting myself. It's like, "Oh, you're fine." But now retrospectively, I look back and I'm like, that was the start of my perimenopausal years, I guess. Irregular heartbeats. I've had a history of atrial fibrillation about 5 years or so ago and was hospitalized for it. I think that it was part of the menopause picture. Recurring UTIs, again, because everything down there uh, kind of shrinks due to the decrease of estrogen. A lot of bacteria gets caught up in the urinary tract, so you can have an increase in urinary tract infections or UTIs. Changes in taste, burning mouth sensation, breast soreness, inability to concentrate, again, inability to sleep, insomnia, digestive changes, muscle aches and pains, electric shock sensations like in your feet or your legs. It's kind of scary. Joint stiffness, frustration, anxiety, brain fog, forgetfulness, irritability, depression, mood swings, panic disorder. I never thought I was an anxious person or or panicky person, but this also came out during menopause. And smelling smoke. That's one that Dr. Tati and I were like, I have that too. It smells like something's smoking, like a fire or something, or a house is on fire or wood burning fire, but there's no smoke around. That's also a symptom. And now also a new study came out that hearing loss could be worsened during menopause. So those are just some of the documented symptoms of menopause. So if you have any of these and you're the age of 40 and above, it's worth taking a look into, making sure it's nothing else. But if they don't find anything, it's most likely menopause. And then you, on top of that, as some of you know, and I think I showed this to you before, I had a ruptured brain aneurysm about a year and a half ago. And a lot of the symptoms that I just listed are also part of the recovery of this. So I got a double whammy, but that is the toll we pay to have this journey of life, I keep on saying. Um, so let's just quickly go over what is menopause. It's actually not having a period or menses for 12 months, and it's most likely during the time of 45 and 55. Perimenopause can last, it says here, about 7 years, but for mine, it was almost 10 years, and it could last as long as 14 years. So when I was around 42 and I'm 56 now, I went into menopause 3 years ago. So, that it varies, and it also depends on your race, your ethnicity, when the women in your family started around, that might also determine when you would start as well and how long they would last. I love this. I love I love the fact that I saw this on the internet or on social media that menopause is puberty's older mean sister. And if you look at the hormonal changes during a pre-pubertal or pubertal time, it looks a lot like the perimenopause and menopause map. So I just put these two charts together. This late reproductive phase could be premenopause. So there's no real menopause symptoms. Still have periods. Obviously, you can still get pregnant there. And then during early perimenopause, cycles start changing by 7 or more days. You might start to see some symptoms, like with me, the palpitations, and the length this phase varies. But again, like I told you, if I showed you a graph of puberty, it looks a lot like this graph of hormones going up and down, and it's all over the place, right? So late menopause is now defined more about like 2 or more months between periods, and this phase typically lasts about 1 to 3 years, excuse me. You could still get pregnant around perimenopause. And then when you have your final period again, 12 months of no bleeding, no breakthrough bleeding, no spotting, nothing, you're most likely in menopause. And that is when ovaries stop producing eggs. So 12 months or more without a period. This is where the late perimenopause and the early menopause is where the hot flashes and night sweats are most likely going to occur. Early menopause is 5 to 8 years after the last period, and then obviously the late menopause is from that time for the rest of the woman's life. And postmenopause is over 1 year since the last period, or it says here you can remain in this stage for the rest of your life. Just a little brief thing, and it's beyond the scope of this talk, but the changes in hormones, so is a decrease in estrogen and progesterone, and that can contribute to increased insulin resistance. That's supposed to say insulin resistance, and changes in cholesterol. So you could have increased cholesterol. You can have increased abdominal fat, paired with the decreased metabolism. our signaling pathways for hunger, like GLP-1. Again, beyond the scope of this discussion, but we will bring Dr. Tati back to talk about this. And increased sensitivity to stress hormones like cortisol. That all leads to also an increase in cardiovascular risk. It also leads as what we call the midlife muffin top. So that's all I really want to talk to you about today. We will have Dr. Tatiana back and we will talk more about different changes in hormones and how it affects weight gain and things like that. But for now, just wanted to give you that little nugget and to also remind you that Dr. Tati is going to have a free webinar on how menopause affects the brain. That's next week, next Tuesday. So register for that. It's a free event. And if you had a flourish flash moment during this buzz, type it in the comments or share this episode with somebody, share the podcast with somebody. We always want to help people get empowered by information. And if you did have a flourish flash, we'd love to hear it. Please drop it in the comments. So until next time in the hive, be kind and flourish fully. Bye.